Well, hi everybody. Welcome back to Kathy and I. And for those of you in the comments that keep asking about Andy, Andy has decided this is not the way he wants to go. We're still all friends, but he just doesn't really want to do videos and things. So that's his right. And if you like what he has to say, I'd go find him on Facebook and follow him because he posts on Facebook. So, he is a great guy, but we may bring on some other collaborators over time. So, yep. So today we are going to look at um, some of the real emerging voices, the people that are speaking out loudly about what's going on, because I think we want to take a more proactive approach than kind of looking at the chaos that's out there. But we are going to give a quick rundown. Um, um, Kathy's got some dates, but before we do, I'm Louise Edington, louiseedington.com. My Venus retrograde class is starting this Tuesday, and it's 7 weeks, 8 calls. And honestly, this 7 weeks coming up is, oh my God, all the aspects that are happening in it are just outstanding and unprecedented. And it's going to be a challenging time. And doing something like that class will really help. But whatever you do, it's all about self-care, going within, doing what you can, and healing from the inside out, because we are going to need some courage and resilience, which is what that class is going to work on as well. But just do it anyway, whether you do my class or not. So, and so Kathy, yeah.
I'm Kathy Beal. My website is empowermentunlimited.net. YouTube channel is Professional Aquarian, where I have a series of under the actions you can take playlist. I have a series of really short videos that talk about how we pick up energy from each other and things you can do to shield, to recharge, to disconnect, to give people their stuff back. Highly important these days. I'm going to start a new one called The Power of One that explores small steps you as one tiny person can take, because we're all drops in a giant ocean.
Yes,
Oh,
we
and one
are
thing about
in.
Andy's
Mm.
moving more and more to Medium, so look for Andrew Bassano Brewer on Medium. And he says he's starting his own YouTube channel. We will see what happens with that.
Yeah, I don't know if he will, but anyway, we'll see. But yeah, we're still all friends. But yes, he just didn't want to commit to doing this every week because he's got a lot going on in life as well, which is great. So we're going to do a quick rundown of aspects and the news. I want to say before Kathy goes through her wonderful lists that, you know, people go, people are still going in the comments, well, when's the big news? Well, it's coming out all the time. Look at what is happening. It came out in different ways, but there's different organizations talking about election interference. Then there's all kind of the evidence and news that Project 2025 was the plan all along. People are realizing that this was what was in the planning all the time. And so just because it came out in ways you didn't expect it, don't kind of go, oh, well, you were wrong kind of thing. I don't think we were wrong at all for any of it, because NATO, has become involved in big ways. Vance's speech to NATO was horrific. Basically, USA and Europe are not allies anymore, and they're now trying to interfere in the German election, which is what his speech was aimed at, and Musk is involved in that as well. So, this is everything is happening. It just kind of comes out in different ways slightly. But anyway, Kathy, you with your rundown, go on.
Okay, so a lot of what we're seeing, what we have been seeing, is fallout from the Leo full moon on February 12th, which was in an action demanding aspect to Uranus, the disruptor, the bringer of volatile, unexpected change. And Mars, the planet of push, was at the degree that he's been retrograde at the degree that he'll be stationing direct later this week. So the fallout from that has been all over the place. The fracturing of alliances, shocking developments in the power grab coming out of the White House, now deeming itself above Congress and above the courts. That's going to have ramifications. I'll just point out that, okay, Mars goes stationary. No, that there are two big things coming from this just to watch for, and then I'm going to go through day by day some things to watch for. Mars will be at he stations direct on March 23rd, ending his retrograde status from December 6th. When, when he,
February 20.
oh, I'm so sorry, February 23rd. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. He stationed retrograde on December 6th on the United States North Node in Leo. At the beginning of January, he went back into Cancer. So he's been at 17 degrees Cancer since February 12th, the date of that explosive full moon, and he will not move off that until March 9th. Meanwhile, Uranus is still at 23 degrees Taurus, and it will not move off until March 13. 23 degrees Taurus is just a whisper off of Trump's midheaven. So in the middle of March, the chaos agent, the planet of unpredictable change, is going to make its third pass across Trump's 410 angle. And that's when something actually involving him and his status in the world and his own security, by then, around then, something very, that's the wrecking ball, folks. Okay, so in the meantime, and that also occurs right at a lunar eclipse in Virgo that will be on top of the United States Neptune in the ninth house of borders, foreign affairs, immigration, what we believe, separation of church and state, role of church, racism, a bunch of things. So just know
It's,
that we
it's
are on a
that's also
trajectory.
that's also square Donald Trump's eclipse full moon energy, right? So this
It
eclipse,
is. So
yeah.
the middle of March is a hugely important time. And if you can look at what's going on now, especially since February 12th, as an on-ramp to something really big, that may help deal with stuff. So in the meantime, this week, there is on the 25th a conjunction between Mercury and Saturn. Something may come to solid form. Mercury is communication, it's information. It's also in the sign of Pisces, which is interconnectedness. Saturn, it clamps things down. It can be a break, a hindrance. You may get very certain about something, and this makes it absolutely important that you step away from the noise and
Mhm.
empty and know what your own voice is, because you will get clarity when this happens. All right. And no telling how it'll play out in the world. There are a whole bunch of things that could be. And then 2 days later, on the 27th, Mercury, planet of communication in its most telepathic, all connecting, non-verbal expression of Pisces, has a sextile or opportunity aspect with Uranus in Taurus, which is called, it's the higher octave. That's like the higher mind. They're related. I kind of look at it as Rick and Morty, or, you and your crazy uncle who's a genius, but it's really uncomfortable when he shows up. So no telling what will open, what we'll see differently, what news will come through, what shocking something, and it may relate back to stuff that's been breaking open since February 12th. Could actually go a bit further back than that. Could involve the water, could involve
Yeah,
technology, could involve
yeah,
money, well, all those things.
yeah.
On
And
the 20,
oh,
I'm sorry,
sorry,
go
yeah,
on.
go on.
No,
No, no, no,
was there,
you go on. No.
okay, on the 27th in the US, 28th in in the Europe and the UK, we have a new moon in Pisces. that is squaring Jupiter, the guy that ups the action of every ante. He gets near, ups the ante of any action he gets near. I said it backwards. So this is hyper connecting, hyper disorienting, enormous potential for inspiration, for knowing, for empathy, for telepathy, for a huge influx of absolute untruth coming in. So it's your, look at it as your new moon, your fresh start. And I'm saying, dream it, dream your new world. Set your intentions based on wildly impossible dreams. Why not? Anything could happen.
and
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 then right
then
after,
find connections that share your
find
dream
connections.
or similar. Yeah.
Go find your own magic, make it. It's going to be critical. And then after that, dun dun dun, Venus stations retrograde on March 1st. She'll be retrograde until April 12th. She stations retrograde at the location of, in Aries, at the location of the solar eclipse that's going to end the month of March. You should be getting the idea by now that March is going to be a wild, wild ride.
Oh.
So she's going to be in Aries for the until nearly the end of the month. On the 27th, she'll scoot back into Pisces. So we're going to be revisiting values, people from the past, money deals, creativity deals, how you have fought for something. We'll see. Uh, Louise, what would you like to add to
Well,
this?
then Mercury's going retrograde as well. Venus goes retrograde at 10 degrees Aries. Then Mercury goes retrograde at 9 degrees Aries. So they are both, being retrograde at the same time. Venus stays retrograde for about 40 days and 40 nights. For those of you that know your Bible stories, that will resonate because I'm convinced the Bible was written from astrological transits. But anyway, so Venus goes retrograde on March the 1st. Mercury then goes retrograde on March the 15th under that eclipse energy. So then we hurtle into the middle of the eclipses between the two eclipses, one in the middle of March, one at the end of March, and the very halfway point between the eclipses, March the 22nd, is the day of the new Venus star point, which I work with and is like kind of an invisible clock working in the background and has big effects on both personal and collective energy. But on that day as well, we'll have the last quarter moon. So that's halfway between the two eclipses, because this time we have a full moon lunar eclipse, then a new moon eclipse. So it's like endings, then beginnings. But at the halfway point, we've got those two things. And also on March the 22nd, the moon is the furthest out of bounds off the ecliptic that it will go at the 18.5-year lunar maximum point on that very day. And after that, each month it goes less and less out of bounds. So this period is just it's just like this portal of rebirth and dissolution and change and chaos. I do want to add one past aspect of the things I kind of add to my chart that we're not looking at always on this. I look at the centaurs, and Nessus is the revealer of abuses of power. Saturn and Nessus were just conjunct on, I think it was just 4 days ago, I think it was the 18th, in Pisces. And they had been kind of running close together a bit. And I've noticed that these two together have been just showing us the abuses of power. And that's evident, right? But the good thing is, as well, to go to add to Kathy's aspects, is Mercury coming up there, people getting clarity about what's really going on. Even some Republicans are starting to murmur, going, you can't do this, you can't, like, we're not allies with Russia and such like. So it may not be happening fast enough for everybody's liking, but things are starting to happen. And so Yeah. I think that was everything I wanted to add. But we wanted to talk about some, people who are really kind of stepping up. And so we're going to look at Jasmine Crockett first, then AOC, and then Jamie Raskin, who I've got a particular fondness for. And now I know why. Now I've looked at his chart. So let's have a look at Jasmine. So we don't have a time of birth for Jasmine. So this is a solar sign chart. So Aries on the first house cusp. So we do look at houses a bit, but it's not as accurate as if you've got a birth time. But North Node in Leo, Mars went retrograde on that, and we'll be coming back around, and that's aspecting. Look at this powerful Aries stuff she's got. I mean, whew, wow. That shows Sun, Venus, Mars, and Eris, who is very activated in most of these charts right now, all in Aries and opposing quite strong Libra as well. She's a real fighter for justice. I mean, she is an attorney, right? She's literally a lawyer, so she knows the law. And so is Kathy. So there you go. So anything else you want to say? There's lots I could say, but let's
Well, what jumps out at me immediately is with a Capricorn moon, we don't know the time, but it's firmly within Capricorn. She understands reality. She
yes.
understands reality, and she, even though she's got this huge fighter push with those 4 placements in Aries, she has her eye on the long haul, and she works in incremental steps. So there is a deliberateness behind what appears to be her unpremeditated outbursts. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to point out two important things. I mentioned that Mars is sitting at the degree of 17 uh, Cancer, and that is moving. It's basically opposite her moon. We don't know the exact degree of her moon, but it's around
Mm-hmm.
there. So she's fighting for something for the long haul. And Mars previously had been squaring her Eris. It's moved away from it now, but that's a piece of it. And as Mars continues to move forward, it's going to trine her Uranus. So which is in Scorpio. So I don't know if that's going to mean that she will uncover some huge corruption, or if there will be a scandal coming back at her. So far, I've never heard any hint
Anything.
of anything about that. Um, the other thing two other things I want to mention. She's got Saturn on her, or has had Saturn on her Mercury. So she's been stepping up into into the adult in the room, basically, mode with the stuff she's been saying. And the Aries, both retrogrades and the solar eclipse at the end of March take off from her Mars. So
Mm-hmm.
she's oh boy, she's not
Yeah.
backing down, not shutting up. Um, and well, actually, yeah, she's not shutting down up at all. And by the end of March, when we have this massive pileup in the sign of Pisces, at the end of Pisces, all of
Mm-hmm.
that is going to be, some of it already is, squaring her Neptune. So she's had Neptune squaring Neptune, which is a naturally occurring, I mean, it happens for everybody that lives to a certain age. But she's also got, by the end of March, there'll be Venus, and Venus retrograde is going to sit at its direct station degree, is going to be sitting for a period of time in an exact square to her Neptune,
Yeah.
with all of
Mm-hmm.
this other Pisces stuff. Just know they're going to be seven. There's a conjunction of seven bodies, seven
Yeah.
bodies and a point at the
Yeah.
end of March, at the end of Pisces. So if you look at this as a solar chart, if you put it as a noon chart, no, not as a noon chart. If you put it as uh, I would have her sun on the ascendant. Either way you do this, that Neptune's in
Well,
the ninth house
I can
of
eat
government.
closer.
Oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. A ninth house of government, of laws, of foreign relations, of messaging, of life outlook. She's doing things for a bigger purpose.
She is. She's got this Saturn Jupiter conjunction as well, which she likes the rules and the law. She wants to uphold the law. I think she is like, whew, and justice in Libra. But a couple of other things I want to mention that she's going to start feeling. She's heading towards her Uranus opposition. Everybody has a Uranus opposition at age 42, but she's going to start feeling it now. Uranus is moving forward in the opposite sign, Taurus, and moving towards opposing her Uranus. That is usually a time of used to be called kind of the midlife crisis. I was always taught that it was like the one where your husband goes off with the secretary with a red sports car, but it's actually not just that. It's kind of a making it's kind of stepping into this radical shift, and she's got that Uranus at the anaretic last degrees of Scorpio. She is going to fight for values, I think, with Uranus in Taurus, and fight to uphold values. She really kind of likes to uphold what's the best of things, and I don't see any scandal coming her way, to be quite honest. So
She's that's going to be hotter and hotter and hotter. Uranus is going to move into that opposition. It'll be
mm,
closer in May, and then Uranus is going to move into Gemini in July. So
mhm.
June will be a really, really hot time. And interestingly, before that, paving the way to it, Saturn will trine that Uranus during the month of May before Saturn moves into Aries. So it'll sit
Yeah,
for a little while, building into a trine. So she's a force. I think we're going to see with all three of these that they have power to be reckoned with, becoming more
mm,
powerful really, really quickly. And that Mars is going to conjunct her North Node on May 4th. So that's
yeah,
something that's going to push her forward on her life path. And her North Node is really close to the U.S. North Node, so
mm.
she's part of what this nation's about.
It is, and all of her nodes are forming this mystic rectangle pattern with this powerful opposition that she's got, that has got both Mercury and Venus going retrograde, on her Mars pretty much, and opposing her Saturn, Jupiter. She's going to step up. Expect to hear her talking more. I did have to laugh about your expression about how she says things with her Mercury in Pisces. That's kind of quite poetic in some ways, in Mercury and Pisces, and slippery words. It makes me think of, what did she say about she came out with that kind of rapping thing about to Bobert in the thing about beach bodies or something. So she's got that side to her as well, which is kind of very Mercury and Pisces, but with all that cardinal strong energy, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn moon. She's deliberate. She knows what she's doing. Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that was
And
funny. She's having a
she gets things.
Sorry, she's having a Mercury return right now as well, of course. Yeah. Yes. She gets things what? Sorry.
She gets things moving with all that cardinal. She
She
gets
does.
things moving.
Oh, very much initiator, get things moving. Yeah. I just love her. I think she's one to watch for the future. And now, of course. Yeah. So anything else to say before
No, I'm ready.
yeah, we'll move on to AOC, who I've always loved. Though I had a little bit of a discussion, shall we say, with a very progressive person who I know from my Bernie Sanders delegate days. And he's like, well, AOC is a disappointment. I'm going, what? You know, I know. These people, I don't know. I'm sorry, they're as bad as the other side sometimes. It's like criticize them for one little thing. Well, talking of powerful cardinal energy, oh
Hey.
my goodness. AOC has a cardinal grand cross in Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. that involves like almost all her planets. And I left Pallas Athena in because we do have a time for AOC, and that is, strategic justice, and that's conjunct her moon. That's just wowie to me. I love that her Eris is opposing her Mars. She is a fighter, and she actually said once, you've got to shake tables, and that's very Eris. And it's square her Chiron. So, she kind of has that healing energy as well. She's just got such a powerful chart. And of course, the Venus star point that day, March the 22nd, that I mentioned, where the moon is most out of bounds. We've got the new Venus star point, and it's the last quarter moon at 2 degrees Capricorn Aries, is aspecting her moon, Pallas Athena, Mercury opposition. So that day she is like lit up to speak truth to power and to kind of go on kind of the warpath, if you like, for justice, I think. So anyway, keep going.
She has tremendous links to the United States chart because um, her Mars at 15 Libra is on the U.S. Saturn, and her Jupiter it's within a couple of degrees of the U.S. Sun. She's linked with us, and her North Node is on the U.S. Moon, the people. So it makes complete sense to me why she got elected, and what her motivations are. Her angles are the same as the U.S. angles. The U.S. has a 14-degree Sagittarius ascendant. Hers is 15. There's a lot about her. She is in some way the embodiment of the potentials of this country and the rules and what we have stood for, with a huge fighter streak involved in it. She's like I wouldn't say a rabid dog, or there's a guard dog energy here, or a don't mess with us kind of energy.
Yeah, yeah. And I do love that she has that powerful Mercury in Libra opposing her moon as well, and the Pallas Athena, because when you watch her live streams and her videos, she's teaching you as well about how it works, about how the system works. And she is, explaining what they can do, what she can do, what you can do. She is, she also teaches. And I love that that's right at the top of her chart, her Mercury in the ninth house, the teacher in a way. So, she is. That's one reason I love her and love listening to her, because she explains like how the government's working, and how the yeah, how the committees work and things like that, because people here do not know this stuff. I've realized, as an immigrant who dove into politics as soon as I got my citizenship, I was like, nobody understands how it works. So I set on a mission of understanding how it works. And she teaches that. So, yeah. So she is, I just think I've got to show you that day, that
Well, one more thing before you
March.
do that.
Yes, go on while I get that chart
No,
up.
no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. Could you please go back to her chart by itself before you do
Oh,
that?
yeah. Yeah,
No, no,
yeah.
no. This
Let
is
me
perfect.
just.
This is perfect. No, no, this is
Oh,
perfect.
okay.
Look, I said Uranus is going to sit at 23 degrees Taurus until March 13th, and then it moves to 24 when it perfects a T square to her nodes, from
Oh,
her
yes.
nodes to Uranus. A lot of stuff's going to break in different ways at the end of March, and it's pushing her on her mission.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing that I just had that date up kind of by accident.
So I'm going
So,
to shut up and you talk about it.
well, I just want to show people this. I'm actually going to set it to the the last quarter moon, just to show how those degrees are just hit, because I really kind of pay attention to degrees over time. So we have the Venus star point that's going to start both a 9.5 month cycle, an 18-month cycle, and an 8-year cycle at 2 degrees Aries on her moon, on her Pallas Athena, opposing her Mercury. But then we have just before the Venus star point is exact, we have a moon sun square, the last quarter moon. And that halfway point between eclipses is always an important turning point. The moon is on her Uranus. So Uranus hitting twice, like radical change, the rebel as well in some ways, it's kind of that rebel yell almost as well, can be Uranus as well. And it can be the positive side of the wrecking ball as well, as like, I'm coming for you, I'm gonna wreck you. And then the sun on her moon, this is just like, so the last quarter moon is forming that T-square with her Mercury moon Pallas Athena opposition, which is in square to her Uranus and her Ceres incidentally. So she's this is just she's on a fighting mission to rebel against what's happening here, so in big
And
way.
Pluto at 3 degrees Aquarius in her second house of values and resources is in a sextile or opportunity to the sun, to Venus at the Venus star point, to her moon, to her Pallas. This is the possibility for incredible intensification and empowerment coming out of this.
Yeah, yeah. But please remember that these are kind of eclipse times, are resets and times of things beginning to change, so watch for this unfolding. And as I said, the Venus star point is the start of cycles as well, but it's also action. It's Venus is going to be a morning star after this, which is more kind of active, action oriented. So she's going to be taking big actions, I think. So anyway, let's go back to just her chart. I just love her chart. I have always have done. So when she first got elected, I looked at it. Whoa.
Well, in June, after all this stuff blows open, Mars, having finished its retrograde path, will cross her south node on June the 5th. So, and it's going to be opposing the U.S. Moon and her north node. So there's a period of time of a role shaping up, intensifying, and she's one of the people who is going to be harnessing and like riding the change, riding where it is that we're going to. And I'd like to point out that there's a similar time frame with her as we talked about with Jasmine Crockett. So this is not these voices getting stifled or stuck in a box or thrown into jail somewhere. All right. No, absolutely the opposite, coming to the fore even more than they have.
Definitely. And another one who is, if people have noticed, who is speaking up very loudly is Jamie Raskin, who I've always liked. And his son is at the same degree as my son, so now I know why. And Taylor Swift's, incidentally, everybody. So so we're all at 21 degrees Sagittarius, but I have other connections too. But he is another one who has the nodes in Leo Aquarius, and these people are being activated. But he also is of that Pluto Virgo and Uranus, Pluto and Uranus in Virgo generation that we've talked about often, that Kamala Harris has, Tim Walz has, and these people born in that generation are approaching this opening trine once Uranus moves into Gemini, and Pluto and Uranus aspect each other exactly. And that's a real kind of opening, like building kind of aspect. So they are kind of reaching their potential or their sense of purpose in some ways as a generation. You know, Pluto and Virgo is a generation, but this is a specific one as well that was seeded in the 60s with civil rights and all that kind of jazz. So anyway, there's loads more I could say, but I'm going to let you say some stuff now.
Well, for people who, Jamie Raskin is a constitutional scholar. He's a law professor, and he had a really powerful speech recently where he actually outlined the powers in the Constitution and took issue with people saying we have co-equal branches of government. I love that he said, first off, there's no word co-equal, it's equal. But he pointed out that Congress is Article 1. He says Congress is the preeminent. Congress makes the laws, the courts interpret the laws, the executive enforces the laws. With Congress making the laws, we're seeing this being
Overturned.
tinkled with a whole lot. But Uranus sitting at 23 degrees Taurus has been squaring his Mars in Leo. He's always been forthright. He was one of the impeachment managers in the House for one of the impeachments. I forget which one. But now he's teaching. He's saying these are the rules. This is what's going on. These are the laws. And he's indefatigable. Mars, when it finishes, Mars is going to go across his palace and his moon. We don't know the exact time, but it will. And by April 20th, it's going to be on his north node. Again, someone having their mission pumped up and activated.
Mm-hmm. And there's Eris again. There's this whole Eris moves very slowly, but everybody born around the same time has Eris around 9 degrees, 8, 9, 10, because it's over 500 years the orbit. I can't remember what it is. So Eris moves very slowly, but again, that Venus and Mercury retrograde is both of them are stationing retrograde on a whole bunch of these people's Erises. And Eris is the table turner, as I said. You know, she stands up for the outsiders, but she also is ready to kind of throw the apple of discord in and create some discord to fight. And Aries, she went into Aries in 27, I think. So that was at the start of the women's rights movement, right? So, you know, it's about personal rights, individual rights. Aries, she fights for people keeping their individual rights, in my opinion. That's
The 20s was when women got the vote. The movement started well before then.
well, yeah, it did. Sorry, yes,
Yeah,
but
no,
but it was the beginning of people getting their individual rights. Let's put it that way. Yeah. I knew I'd said something quite wrong there, but anyway.
Well, no, I just wanted to clarify because people will
Yeah.
jump in.
Oh, they will. Yeah.
Yeah. But another really important thing that's happening is that Pluto in Aquarius has moved across his south node. It's still really close, still feeling it. Wow, that's an intensifying, that's an message coming through. And it may be important to know that this man has overcome cancer fairly recently and continued working while he was in chemotherapy. He was showing up in the house wearing a scarf or a do-rag on his head. And so he's had many tragedies. He had a child die, all kinds of stuff. And here he is plowing on, plowing on, plowing on for what he believes in and fighting for.
Yeah, you know, it's and just all this pile up at the end of Pisces right now. It's moved away from it slightly, but Saturn has yet to come up as to square his sun, and that Nessus that's revealing the abuses of power. But Sagittarius likes we like truth. We seek truth, and he likes to kind of get out there and say, no, you know, this is not the truth, kind of thing. So he's speaking about that as well. but the Pisces has been squaring his sun, so it's bringing him more into that kind of also kind of sense of speaking about how we're all connected again, as well as being about a constitutional scholar, which very Mercury in Capricorn, right? So it's like this is
Very.
the rules of the Constitution. So and his own Saturn is on pretty much on the south node of the USA as well. So yeah, yeah,
And some good stuff coming for him starting
yeah.
in the summer too, with Jupiter, the planet that amplifies everything, moving into Cancer in June, and it is going to trine, pump up his Jupiter Chiron. He could get some validation. There could be things that make him feel like there is a healing. Read into that whatever you want. And then it's going to trine his Venus. Neptune also, uh, that also looks like a payoff of work, of things, of reason to be happy and feel like you've done
Mm-hmm.
something. By the time it does that, Jupiter's going to be on the U.S. sun.
Mm-hmm.
So this the current chaos and the constrictions and the terrifying things that we are witnessing right now, transits like this make me say, I don't think that's what's going to be happening by then.
Mm-hmm. I don't either.
I don't
And
either.
I will add that Jupiter is in Gemini right now and still at the station direct degree, 11 degrees Gemini, but Jupiter is squaring again, squaring his Pluto and his Ceres, and Jupiter stationed retrograde at 21 Gemini back when it did, and is going to come back over that again. And this is I did a whole video on this mutable stuff yesterday because this is about adaptability. This is how we have to shift and move to to deal with what's coming at us. And this is kind of what he's doing as well. He's saying I've heard him talk about this how we have to do things differently, which is very mutable archetype, you know. Um, so yeah. So that's all being activated as well. So expect to hear a lot more from him as well. So
It's really easy to find speeches by the three of these online. Jasmine Crockett, and Jamie Raskin are in front of the press all the time.
mm,
AOC has a YouTube channel. I think she might be on. I mean, I'm sorry. She does Instagram
mm,
lives and explains things. I don't know whether these other two are on Instagram or not, but it is not hard to find what they're saying. You will feel much better about many things if you follow them because they tell you what they're doing. They tell you what's going on. And
mm,
especially Jasmine Crockett says what you have been hoping somebody would say. And
yes.
she does it with incredibly well coiffed and groomed and with amazing, uh,
She's always got amazing nails too.
yeah, yeah. And she and Marjorie Taylor Greene go at each other all the time. And so, you know,
But
yeah.
Jasmine, she I mean to go back to her natal chart, you know, she was born in the South, so she's got that. She's like a rapper to me, to my mind, you know, a political rapper in many ways. So she was born in Missouri. She's got that wonderful way with, like I say, it's almost poetic or musical kind of language that she speaks with. I could listen to her all day. But then,
So,
you know, her Mercury is square my Jupiter, so there you
so
go.
let these three, or one of them, be your inspiration. There are people we talked about last week, Cory
Mhm.
Booker and Chris Murphy, who are equally inspirational.
Yeah,
And AOC in particular will tell you, here are things you can do. And they're real things because she lives in the real world
she
and she's
does.
worked in the
And
real world.
and can I just say one thing because it's kind of really annoying me at the moment because I'm progressive in my ideals, right? So, you know, but I'm also pragmatic. And the South Node is in Virgo right now. And that is both the critic, but it's also very pragmatic and holistic. And the South Node in Virgo is saying, remember, we're all connected and human, and the North Node in Pisces. So when you look at these politicians, don't get stuck on one thing that they're not doing the way according to your ideals. They are humans too. And if you want better politicians, either run for office or elect better politicians or support better politicians if you don't like the ones that are there. But this is just a rant about the Virgo South Node, because I'm still seeing it out there, that people go, well, they're not doing this one little thing that's perfect, that how I would like it. And that's so Virgo. Agree or not, Kathy?
I can see where you're coming from.
Yes. Yeah. And the South Node is like, let go of some of that. Okay. Let go of being that absolute critic all the time and picking faults.
And I'll just point out, these people are pulling all-nighters. They are
They have.
grown people pulling all-nighters in Congress, on the floor. I don't want to do it.
I I do not want to do it either, and they're willing to step up. So, the overall trajectory of the astrology as well, and the Venus retrograde that's coming up, and the star point in Aries is about you stepping up for what you can do and what actions you can take as well, even if they're small ones. And AOC spoke to that in her long live stream that's also on her YouTube. She's like, do one little thing, if everybody does, we'll turn this around. Yeah.
So my parting thoughts are, we're heading into rapids,
Oh,
and we don't have a guide. There isn't someone at the front of the boat who's been down this road before. So every single person is responsible for their own sanity right now. And your staying sane is your navigational tool. So whatever it takes, if it means for 2 days you're just watching Netflix, I don't care. That's fine. If it means you're
yeah.
drinking too much hot chocolate with Irish cream in it, I relate to that. That's fine. Do it. Eat comfort food. Go hang out with your friends. Continue making phone calls and clear your energy out. And that way, every day, your intuition will tell you what your task of the day is. And the task might be getting in touch with someone you haven't talked to for a long
Mhm.
time. The task might be, oh, I should put gas in my car. The task might be going to a local, very small, like an an
Yeah.
immigrant-run food market. I go to a lot of those,
Yes.
rather than some big chain. Every day
Yeah.
it'll be something different, but every day it will be something.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and we're going to be blown out into something that is, we're all just going to be walking around going, how did this happen? And
I know.
I have an abiding sense, and I know Louise shares this, that after we get through this gauntlet, the year will
Mm.
be so vastly different, and actually the atmosphere will be so much more positive.
Definitely. And I agree completely. But this time I have to say this next about 8 weeks particularly are this big soup of chaos. And we haven't really been here before. So nobody, but it's at the end of Pisces as well. And that's like nobody's coming to save you. So you save yourself first. You do all the things that Kathy said. Some days you'll feel more up for doing something more, like maybe calling your reps, or doing something locally to go and serve in a soup kitchen or something. But it's we've just got to support each other and stop expecting somebody else to kind of do it all, or to support you or something like that. It's really kind of step it up, and look after you first, fill your cup. Can I just tell you about I'm not going to search for the card, but I use a specific astrology deck, or sorry, tarot deck for the course I do for my Venus retrograde. And this card in this deck really spoke to me. So I'm just going to um, show you the picture from the book, because otherwise it's going to take so long. This is actually, well, you might not be able to see it.
Move it
It's
more to your left.
okay. This
There
is
we
the
go.
this is the fall. So this is actually the tarot card in the tower card in most decks, but in this deck it's the fall. And this says I am falling. And this says changes are often forced upon us when the structure that surrounds our life becomes stagnant, decayed, and unviable. There is often a strong resistance to acknowledge that something is wrong and an equally almighty resistance against changing the way things are. Something will break whether we consent or not. This is a challenging time and there can be shock. But the good thing is that the fall ends, we come back to earth in the end. So it kind of reminded me of, like, so-called fall of humans in the Bible and things, but we are kind of learning how to be better humans at this point in time, I think, and where we've kind of not been treating each other right and living by really kind of intrinsic principles of compassion, love, and caring, and all those kind of things, which is very Piscean too. So there you go. It's my little Sagittarius preaching. So, all right then. Thank you everybody for listening again. And don't forget to check my Venus class out. You've got 4 days left to sign up. And if anybody is in hardship and really wants to do the class, email me and tell me what you can offer. I'm always open to offers. So, see you. Bye.